Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name's Claire and I'm a senior lecturer in physiotherapy, and this video is really aimed at third year physiotherapy students who are getting ready and preparing for doing interviews to get their first Band 5 jobs. So I've got Jenna with me again, and she's going to share her top tips for things you can be doing to make sure you are well prepared for your physiotherapy interview.
Hello, my name's Jenna and I'm a recent physiotherapy graduate and I'm just about to start my Band 5 job as a physiotherapist. So my first tip for helping you secure that job that you want is first of all about your personal statement. So the main thing about this then is, as a student, is start on with this early. So kind of as soon as I started my third year, I was already thinking and starting to write my personal statement. Now, the more I kind of went over it and the more I added to it, the more confident I felt about it. So by starting early, kind of helps you make sure that you touch at every point and kind of getting in there what you need to make sure that you've got a good personal statement. So these next few tips then are regarding your interview. So the first tip, and this might sound a bit silly, is dress appropriately. I remember sitting there waiting for my interview and the guy before me was actually wearing jeans. So make sure that you dress appropriately, and if you're not sure what to wear, just ask your lecturers on what they think is appropriate to make sure that you send that right message across when you first enter your room for your interview. So this next tip then is more to do with the research that you do beforehand. So before you go into your interview, make sure that you're researching what that company's values are, what the current problems are as well that the NHS are facing, and try and bring these up in your interview. And also kind of what's going on in the media, so showing that you're aware of what the current problems are of physiotherapy, what's going on in the media regarding the NHS, as this is again going to send the right message across to your interviewer that you're interested in these areas and that you want to be part of the solution as well. Now, my next couple of tips are more to do with the interview questions. So my first tip then is simply Google common physiotherapy interview questions. Now, this might sound a bit like, well, of course, but this is what I did, and kind of went through each one in my head, kind of rehearsed what I would say, and also helped me feel prepared, knowing that, it might be quite possible that these questions come up. So Google them beforehand, make sure you have some answers prepared, so you feel like you're going to be more confident going into the interview. On this, I also prepared answers for the HCPC standards as well, so making sure that each of your answers links to a specific standard. Not only that, but once you've discussed that answer in your interview, link it then back to the standards as well. This shows that you're aware of the standards and aware of how your practice links to them as well. So an example of this then is one of the questions I was asked in my interview was, why do I want to work for that specific trust? Now, luckily, because I had this answers already prepared and I knew what the trust values were, I was able to get these across in my answer of why I want to work for that specific trust. Now, that instantly really impressed them that I knew them values and hopefully helped to get the job. Now, my next tip is regarding the clinical questions. So it's quite common for some physiotherapy interviews to ask you questions about clinical areas. So what I did for this was I made sure that I revised multiple different areas, MSK questions, respiratory questions, making sure you know like the common values. Obviously you should know these quite well by this point, but making sure you're going over them so they're fresh in your mind, so if a clinical question does come up, you feel quite confident to answer it. So my last tip then is to ultimately back yourself. So it's also often in physiotherapy interviews that they ask you what you bring to the team. So obviously, it can be quite hard to make sure that you answer this question without necessarily feeling too big-headed or sounding too overly confident. So a great way to answer this question is to include what other people have said about you in the past to make sure that you're not coming across as too kind of big-headed. So kind of this can be what educators have said about you, what maybe lecturers have said about you, so to show that there's some evidence behind what you can bring to the team as well as your own opinions. But ultimately, it's just important to just back yourself, have confidence in yourself, that you will be a great member to that team and what you will add to that team as well. So those are the top tips from me then. But last thing from me is a good luck, and I hope that you get the job.
So I hope that advice from Jenna was helpful. Do remember that your lecturers are there to help you prepare for those interviews as well, but actually any extra prep you can do yourself will just put you in a position that going into the interview, you feel as confident as you can possibly be. So good luck with your Band 5 job interviews.